The convenience gap is widening. Assets are shifting. Dividends and equities are rising where convenience is king.
You know, for a while there, it really felt like online piracy was, well, a thing of the past, right? But guess what? It's not. Not at all. In fact, it's making this huge comeback. And today, we're going to get into exactly why that's happening. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that services like Netflix and Spotify seemed to have cracked the code. They were easy, they were safe, honestly, just a way better experience than downloading sketchy files. But as you can see, that trend has completely flipped on its head. After this massive drop, piracy is, well, it's roaring back.
So what's going on here? Is the story really just streaming got too expensive and annoying? Because on the surface, that totally makes sense, right? But is that the real story? Let's dig in.
All right, so first, let's talk about the simple comeback story. This is the one you've probably heard, the one that, yeah, seems to make a ton of sense at first glance. So the common wisdom goes something like this, right? Step 1, piracy was king because getting stuff was a total hassle. Step 2, along come these super convenient, pretty cheap streaming services, and boom, piracy is basically unnecessary. Step 3, those services get expensive, they get fragmented, and they just get inconvenient. So step 4, everyone just goes back to piracy. It's a neat little circle, a simple trade-off between convenience and cost. But what if I told you that's not really what happened? Yeah, the only problem with that neat little story is it's wrong. Or at least it's not the whole story, not by a long shot. The real reasons are actually way more fascinating, and they tell us a lot about how the whole entertainment industry's model is, well, kind of broken. So to really get what's going on now, we got to go back and understand why piracy pretty much vanished in the first place. And here's the spoiler. It wasn't because millions of people suddenly had a moral awakening about copyright law. This gets to something called the convenience principle, and it's super important. The idea is that most people, even people who pirated stuff, would actually prefer to pay. We get it, making movies and music costs money. The thing is, piracy wasn't usually the first choice. It was more like a last resort when the legal ways were just a total pain to deal with. And get this is what's really wild. A study from back at the peak of piracy found that the people who pirated the most content were also the ones who paid for the most content. Isn't that crazy? They bought more DVDs, they went to more movies, they bought more CDs. They were just massive media consumers. They weren't trying to rip anyone off. They were just huge fans who wanted access. And if they couldn't find it legally, well, they found another way. Okay, so this all leads us straight to the 800-pound gorilla in the room, Netflix. And you know that golden age of streaming we all look back on so fondly, with everything in one place for $10? Yeah, that was never meant to be the final product. It was just Act 1 in a much, much bigger corporate strategy. Just look at this number for a second. 57 years. Based on its 2023 earnings and valuation, that's how long it would have taken for Netflix shareholders to get paid back. 57 years. So what does that tell you? It tells you that investors knew the cheap, all-you-can-eat model wasn't the real endgame. The big money, the real bet, was on a future where Netflix could jack up prices while controlling all the content themselves. And this quote from Netflix's chief content officer, Ted Sarandos, just lays it all out there, plain and simple. We need to become movie studios faster than movie studios can become us. It was a race. It wasn't about being a library for other people's stuff. It was about building their own empire before the old guard in Hollywood could catch up. And here's the thing about that race. Piracy was actually a pretty useful, if unofficial, ally for them. Think about it this way. Amazon obviously doesn't want people to shoplift. But when it happens at a Target or Walmart, it hurts Amazon's brick-and-mortar competitors way more than it hurts Amazon. It was the same for Netflix. Every time someone pirated a movie from a legacy studio, it didn't hurt Netflix one bit. It just weakened their competition. So if Netflix was kind of benefiting from this, what about the traditional Hollywood studios? Weren't they freaking out? Oh, for sure. But here's the kicker. They were trapped in a mess they basically created for themselves. I mean, they were truly caught between a rock and a hard place. On one hand, they could just consolidate everything onto one platform, like Netflix, which would mean waving the white flag and letting a tech company control their destiny. No way! So they went with option B, compete. They launched their own services, Disney+, Max, Peacock, you name it. And what was the result? They shattered the market into a million pieces, made the experience for you and me way worse, and, whoops, accidentally made piracy look like the easy, convenient option again. And their big strategic response to all this? Double down. They basically stopped making mid-budget movies and went all in on giant mega blockbusters. And this chart, wow, it says it all. Of the 20 most expensive films ever made, only one was made before 2013. The other 19 were made after. They're literally betting the entire farm on these huge tentpole movies, which is a terrifyingly risky strategy now that things like DVD sales, which used to be guaranteed money, are basically gone. So, is this just a death spiral? Is there any way out of this mess for Hollywood? Well, yeah, there is. And to find the answer, we can look at an industry that faced an even worse version of this problem and somehow actually won. It's kind of hard to imagine now, but not too long ago, music piracy was a way bigger problem than movie piracy ever dreamed of being. I mean, check this out. At its peak, 95%, 95 of all music downloads were pirated. And yet today, who even bothers? So, what changed? It all comes down to this. The music industry and the movie industry took completely opposite approaches. The music industry realized they couldn't beat streaming, so they joined it. They put their content on all the services. They found new ways to make money, like tours and merchandise. They made legal access so easy it was a no-brainer. The movie industry? They did the exact opposite. They hoarded their content on exclusive platforms, making it a scavenger hunt for consumers, while pouring all their money into those risky blockbusters. One path made piracy unnecessary. The other, well, it made piracy convenient again. And really, that's the big takeaway from all of this. You don't beat piracy by suing teenagers or shutting down websites. You beat piracy by making it obsolete, by creating a legal product that's just better, easier, more convenient. The music industry got it. The movie industry, so far, hasn't. So by trying to win this streaming war, Hollywood is making everything more expensive, more complicated, and honestly, just less fun for the people who are supposed to be their customers. It leaves you wondering, right? Are they inadvertently pushing a whole new generation of viewers back to piracy? And the real question is, if they do, will those viewers ever come back?